So that's sort of the process, the framework, the model that I wanted to share with you. And I think you've already started making the connections. I think that basically you just did this with a bunch of people, right? With
Oh,
that
yeah.
leadership exercise.
Yeah, apparently I'm a Greek god. Who knew?
Clear thinking, cogently discussed. If that's what you're looking for, you may have come to the wrong spot. On the other hand, they are nice guys. Mark and Mike, it doesn't take a genius.
Ramsey!
Marshall, it's almost like moments ago I was sitting here with you looking at a picture of Scrooge behind you as we talked about leadership.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, it was just moments ago. That's what it was. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, you changed it. Very nice.
Let me fix that for you. Yeah. Yeah, this is we were in the previous episode we were talking about an experience that we had where we led people through a discussion about the best and worst leaders that they had ever seen, and there was a chance for some introspection, and we caused them to pause and make affirmations about who they wanted to be, and then we sent them out into the world to go live the things that they had committed to that we had discussed.
Yep.
So yeah, we were talking about how energizing and fun that was.
It was super energizing and fun, and it gave me pause as I thought about how training works. And so we wanted to kind of drop a nugget, a little bit of a model into our listeners' heads that might help them as they go through any training that they're doing. I mean, this could be for a sales meeting, for a staff meeting, for a management team meeting, for anybody who's sort of strategizing how to get the word out about a specific thing that they want to do. This is just a time-honored training model that it just dawned on me, Mike, you exemplify on a regular basis.
Wow.
Yep.
I exemplified something?
You did. You did, as a matter of fact.
Can't even spell exemplify. Man, thank you. That was very nice. I'm gonna go.
My pleasure.
I'm gonna go look up exemplified right now. Yeah. Oh, it's
You're a
good.
paragon.
It's good. Oh no, now I gotta look up paragon.
Paragon, right?
Yeah, you and your words, man, you're killing me.
So let me give you the three words, and then I'll sort of explain the three words, and then I'll show maybe how what we did fit into this. So this is, you know me, my love of ancient things, but this is part of the liberal arts. Remember, we call them liberal because they're liberating. They're for free people. This is how you educate citizens who are going to keep your culture strong. And the three of the liberal arts we have known as the language arts. And if you are old enough to have had an elementary school that was called a grammar school, you're kind of on track there. If you took rhetoric in college, you're kind of on track there. If you ever had a logic class, you're on track there. Those are the three arts. There are three sort of bundles of skills called grammar, logic, and rhetoric. And the idea is that grammar is when you are just sort of getting some things into your memory. Maybe it's terms, defining some terms. Maybe it's categories. We've talked about that periodically. Things like the DISC tool puts people into 4 different categories. And I'm drawing blanks off the top of my head, but there's a million tools that we've used where we basically say these are the different types of things. The Eisenhower matrix would be another one, right? Mm-hmm. Some things are important, some things less important, some things urgent, some things less urgent. That's a model. It's a category, 4 different categories that you can put things in. So you're learning categorization, types of things. You're learning terms and definitions that you just sort of bring into your memory, and you just have them. They're part of you now.
Right.
That's knowledge, right? That's knowledge.
Yeah. I can't spell knowledge, but I can spell book smarts.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. It's the theory. It's the models, the theories, the ideas that others have developed that I can introduce into my consciousness.
You absolutely can, and probably at this point, like you said, book smart. You're kind of a box checker at this point. If you stop here and say, yeah, I know these things, I'm just going to go do them. And you'll always see new coaches do this, people that are learning the coaching techniques. They'll have, the GROW method, 4 categories of questions that you can ask, and they're kind of a process, they're a sequence. And so you say, G for goal. What is your goal? And, the client says, the employee says, well, I want to make more money. And, a good coach says, well, what will that get you? What would you do with more money? What would be more money to you? What exactly are you trying to achieve here? There's all sorts of follow-up questions. But a bad coach who's just memorized the GROW formula goes, R for reality. What's your current reality with this goal that you're trying to achieve? And you just move on to the next thing without being present at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you need to spend some time with logic. And in fact, in the ancient world, they would have even not called it logic. They would have called it dialectic. It gets at the same thing. It's that we're getting to the logic of something, the truth of something, and we're doing it probably through dialogue, through a little bit of a wrestle, through a little bit of a back and forth, maybe even role playing, things like that. Doing something that lets us play with that knowledge we got in grammar. Now we're going to use some logic to sort of test it out and see if we can actually understand it instead of just know it, and really internalize sort of some confidence around that knowledge and understanding. So that's the second one.
Well, and that makes sense, because I think when we see that, when people take something that we give them, an idea, model, or whatever, and then they modify it.
Yes.
They tweak it. They go, oh yeah, that was helpful, but in this situation, here's what I changed it a little bit.
Yep.
And made it better, or made it more apropos to the situation that I was in. And then you go, okay, all right, that, they took the idea, they wrestled with it, and they may have even come up with a modification to it.
Well, and it's so funny you say that, because you notice you really moved into application.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really what you get with the third art is, I've thought about this and wrestled with it and played with it and worked it out, and maybe even tried it out a little bit and had some failure with it, which is a wonderful teacher, right? Pain, the great teacher. You move into the final art here, rhetoric, which is, the ancients would have defined it as, Aristotle said it's the ability to identify all the available means of persuasion. I'm going to figure out all the different things I could do to influence this situation that I'm in. And really, at this point, you're using some wisdom, right? And so that example you gave of modifying, I've got some knowledge, and I just played with this and thought it through about how I could apply it, and I got some understanding when I did that. Now I've thought about it so much that I've got some wisdom here. This won't work, but this will. And so I'm going to approach it this way and try it out and go have an impact in my world, right? What I tell people is, I want you to wrestle and grow more organized and more confident and more influential. Everybody wants to start with influential, but you can't really do that until you get organized in your knowledge, wrestle and play with it a little bit, and get confident in your understanding of that knowledge. Now go use some wisdom and be influential over your market, over your customers, over your employees, over your fellow managers, over your own heart, over your own passions, where you realize you're like Scrooge, and you do things that you maybe want to do, but aren't good, aren't wise. So that's sort of the process, the framework, the model that I wanted to share with you. And I think you've already started making the connections. I think that basically you just did this with a bunch of people, right? With
Oh
that
yeah,
leadership exercise.
yeah. Apparently, I'm a Greek god. Who knew? Yeah, apparently my ancestry DNA didn't go back far enough. Mycocrates.
I was going to say Michael Marshallopoulos or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. I'm sure there was a Napoli in there or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, it's very exciting. It's interesting because, yeah, you've took a deep dive into this area of how culture and how we, the Western world got to this point, and yet, a a simpleton like me, just muddling through, trying to find the best way forward,
Right.
stumbles upon the same sequence of learning. It's like,
It's almost like this is how humans are wired and designed. It's
Mhm.
almost like this is how it's supposed to work.
yeah,
And
yeah. To me, it just made sense.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
that okay, this would be a way to approach and to help people to
right.
actually, you know, it's saying learning hasn't taken place until behavior has changed.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, you may have heard it, you may be able to repeat it back to me, you may even have discussed it with your friends, but until you did something different with it, you know, to me, learning is not truly taking place. And so that idea to know that it's based in these wonderful thoughts that have persisted for 2,500 years.
well,
That's pretty cool.
and think about it, Mike. You didn't start out doing this when you became a facilitator and trainer and coach. You know,
Mhm.
you learned some theories and saw some people that were really good at it, and you emulated some things and tried out some things and had some failures and some successes and built on that. And you know, here we are. You know, you and I go back 20 years, so I know you've been tinkering with this for 20 years plus because you were. I think you got about 10 years on me. I can't remember, but like you've been doing this for a while, and you
We're not going to do any math. Keep moving.
yeah, no, math's not important. Those are the number arts, which are the other liberal arts, and we don't talk about those. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
But I think that's a huge point, and I do want to emphasize one thing about this, which is that the ancients were very conscious of the model. In other words, they knew what they had. The Romans were so enamored with it that they basically, when they conquered the Greeks and enslaved them, they would have Greek slaves as tutors of their children. So they were basically porting the Greek method into the Roman system. And then along came Judeo-Christian thought in the era of you know, Jesus's life on earth, especially. And a professor of rhetoric was one of the main converts who basically said, whoa, we can't let go of this liberal arts thing. It's too good at building a culture. We've got to continue it on. And they wove some new thoughts into it that maybe we'll talk about on another day. But this is a culture building method. It's how Western civilization was built. If you're thinking that you might want your organization to have a cultural life that lasts that long, we would just humbly submit that maybe you could look at this model and get really conscious about making sure you're doing all three parts of the process here. You got to let them spend some time getting some knowledge, memorizing some things, categorizing some things. You've got to let them play with it, wrestle with it, role play with it, and develop some understanding about that knowledge. And then you've got to go let them try it out and see if they can, you know, change behavior, as you said, and have an impact. Make sure you've got all three of those boxes ticked as you're thinking through your plan for implementing some sort of training or communication that you're doing. That's sort of my argument.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, it reminds me of the quote. I believe it was Julius Caesar said, "For lack of training, they lack knowledge. For lack of knowledge, they lack confidence. For lack of confidence, they lacked victory."
I love it. I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah. So yeah, let's teach, let's practice, let's do.
Yeah. 100%. Well, short little episode. I just thought that was a model worth throwing at people because basically we've talked about the model a million times, but we've never sort of laid it out in defined terms. So hope this helps.
Awesome. Yeah. I did something right. This may be my favorite episode of all time, right here. And speaking of always getting it right, let's throw it up to our announcer, the always impeccable, the smooth, silky sounds of Mr. John Wolf. Take it away, Mr. Wolf.
And that, I guess, is that. It doesn't take a genius. No rights reserved, nothing trademarked, copyrighted, or even original. Feel free to give it to anyone, anytime, using any and all media formats. Warning, Mark and Mike may or may not make another one. I'm your announcer, and I did not get paid a nickel to do this. They won't even let me tell you my name. So until next time, if there is a next time, stay safe. Be well.
That's good enough.